Thank you very much for the wonderful introduction and no mention of me being a professional gamer. Right? Okay, now but there's one thing that I want all of you to know is this. I'm actually a part-time magician. Part-time magician. And you know, ever since I was young, I was so intrigued with how a magic trick is done that I would literally beg the magician to teach me how to do the trick. I mean, it makes sense because back in those days there wasn't any YouTube, Google was still so new. It's so difficult to learn a magic trick. And you may be wondering, what does a magic trick got to do with gamification? Right? So I'm going to do what a magician do, which is we always start off with a magic trick. Right? Can we do that? And I want all of you to be involved in this. Okay? If I may ask all of you to please stand up. No one will disappear, so... Alright, please stand up. Now listen carefully to the instruction to this magic trick. And I ask all of you to listen carefully because of this. If you don't listen carefully, the trick won't work, and I will look stupid up here. Alright, so there are two rules to follow. The first rule is follow exactly what I do. Okay, follow exactly what I do. The second thing is, the person on your left and the person on your right must follow exactly what you do. Got it? Two rules? Okay? So let's do this. So I'll put my mic here. Okay? Can you hear me? Yes. Okay? Do this. Do this. Do this. Do this. What's the second rule? Yeah, because I noticed there are some of you with the left hand up, some with the right hand up, so make sure that your right hand is up. Right? Right? Okay? Right hand is up. I'm going to cross over and just hold it real tight. So your thumb will face the bottom. What's the first rule? Follow exactly what I do, right? Okay, follow me. Thank you very much. Let's give all of us a big hand. Thank you very much. Okay, I promise I will teach you the trick at the end of the, at the end, right? I will teach you. Okay, but I want you to reflect on this. I want you to reflect on what happened just now. Alright? Just reflect on the experience. In that single moment, number one, you are present, you are in the zone. Number two, you are given certain rules, certain obstacles that you have to overcome. And the only way for you to overcome the challenge is this: to learn something new. Right? So in that single moment, alright, I can see the table is still trying to figure out. So I will teach you later. Alright? And yeah, so in that single moment, this thing happened. Challenge, I need to overcome it. I want to learn something new. So what if we can take that single moment and repeat it over and over and over 10 times, 20 times? And in essence, that is what game-based learning is about. And I want you to consider these two stories. Griffin, 10 years old, was going shopping with his great-grandmother, who is 78 years old, driving on a highway, driving at 100 kilometers an hour. And all of a sudden, the great-grandmother passed out, heart attack, and the car was going towards the opposite direction. And that kid, Griffin, 10 years old, instinctively took over the wheels, stirred it back, and parked at the side, and called the ambulance. And when the ambulance came, the first responder came, asked the kid, "Hey, you're so young. Where do you learn how to drive a car?" And guess what the kid said? "Mario Kart." Now, the second story, Olsen, 12 years old, same thing, he and his sister was going to the woods, and there was this moose that got provoked and got very angry, was chasing after them, and the sister ran really fast, but he was really slow, and guess what he did? Fake death. And can anyone guess where did he learn this from? World of Warcraft. Right, so what does these two stories got to do with corporate learning and development? Now imagine if we could design a gamified environment that the more times an employee play the game, the better they get. Right? In other words, how can we design a gamified environment that best simulate real-life work pressure? Not online game, but real life, real people, real interaction, real goals, real challenge, real conflict. Everything is real, and we're dealing with real people. And that has become one of my vision in what I'm doing right now in terms of gamification, creating the best environment for people to play and learn at the same time. And of course, we designers, especially for games, we always start off with a fundamental assumption that somebody out there will break the system. Since I'm given 20 minutes, I'm just going to share with you some of the success mindset that you can adopt if you want to bring gamification to your organization. The first is context is more important than content. You know, we play games, right? We want to have a lot of feature. We want to have the prince and the king and the queen. You know, you have to save and then there's a beggar. You need to run up, run down. You know, basically, a lot of gamers, right? They always want to have like a movie type of game. They have to dress up and all that. But then, how does this relate to an actual work environment? Now that's very important because we are talking about game-based learning. We are not talking about creating games, right? So in essence, everything we do in the game-based learning has to mirror the actual work environment. Okay? So let me just quickly share with you some of our methodology, and if you think this can work for you, feel free to apply it in your organization. Now assuming this is a work environment, you know, in a typical work environment, what processes do we have? Anyone can shout out one? We have finance, what else? HR, marketing, sales, right? Okay, let's take sales because sales is the most direct. So in a typical sales process, right, we break down further into individual tasks. So we have prospecting, proposal, negotiation, and then we close the deal. And if you look at the negotiation, we break down further into what are the resources is needed for a negotiation to work. What are some of the challenges? What are some of the goals? So let's just take a negotiation. What are some of the challenges that people face in negotiation? Anyone? Information, lack of information, right? Lack of trust, confidence, lack of confidence, right? So these are the challenges that, you know, from a corporate learning point of view, these are challenges that is faced by a lot of organizations. So what you do is, you take all this, and then you put it as an input into the gamified environment. Right? So let me give you a simple example. Let's say, in a typical negotiation, right? A lot of people, when they go into a negotiation conversation, they don't have a big picture. They don't know their strategy, right, in the workplace. So we take that and mirror that in a gamified environment. So as they play that, then they get to think, all right, when I go to this negotiation, we need to, you know, get to know our big picture. Now the beauty is, the competency needed to succeed in the game then becomes the competency needed to succeed in the workplace. So it's an actual mirror. So during debriefing, it's very easy to connect the dots. Nothing more, nothing less. And then you can put in some learning tools, which I'm not going to talk about it. These are some of the tools that we have. The next thing is autonomy and creativity. Now let me ask you this. In a Monopoly game, what do people do? First, they roll the dice. And then they take the step. And then to buy or not to buy. If they land on people's land, then they need to pay. So it's very, you know, step by step. But in the actual work environment, does that happen? No, right? It doesn't happen, right? So, sometimes everything just comes in one go. So we want to allow enough space for people to freely express themselves. And I have a story where there was this lady. She came to the gamified environment, and you know, while looking at her, we see that she's like an introvert. She didn't talk much, but she was the best negotiator in the whole game. Because not only she can negotiate, she even knows what the other person is thinking, what is their strategy, and to help them succeed. In return, she succeeded as well. And there she is, working in the back office, and nobody knows their strength. So in a gamified environment, we allow people to express themselves. That's where they discover their strengths. So I like this one. You know, everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live the whole life believing it's stupid. You see, you know, people, right? I mean, if you look at all of you, when we join a company, we don't put up the hand and say that, hey boss, I want to fail in the company. No one does that. Everybody wants to succeed. And the only way for them to succeed is if you put them at the right environment. So if your people are not performing at its best, chances are the environment is not ready for them, or they're not getting the support they need. The next thing is mastery over fluency. Do you know the difference, mastery versus fluency? Alright, I'm just going to explain. If you look at baseball, if you were a baseball player and you're practicing curveball, curveball, curveball for 1,000 times every day, and then you go to the actual baseball game where there are more variables, the weather, psychology, the crowd, and then you won't know what kind of ball. Sometimes you get a slow ball, a change-up, you wouldn't know. So, fluency is the ability to repeat the desired behavior in a fixed setting. Whereas mastery is the ability to adapt in a changing variable. And you know, yesterday I couldn't sleep because there's so much about AI. I think if you go on the approach of fluency, the AI will take over because the variable doesn't change. Right? Just like, you know, language. When we learn language, it doesn't change. You just get fluent. But from a leadership point of view, we need to look at a more adaptive, adaptive capabilities. And game can allow that to happen. Because as people get comfortable, we want to change the variable. We change the environment. We change the setting. We throw in new information. We throw in new briefing. Suddenly, all their game plan gone. Now they have to try to adapt whatever they have learned. Alright. Now one thing you must know is this. I'm not from Singapore, and I feel I need to put this. And you guess who is that? Joseph Schooling. Yes, so I get extra brownie point just by putting that. But really, I think when we talk about games, right, sports is the #1 place that you should study if you want to talk about the power of a game. And sometimes, do you ever wonder why do all these sports people go the extra mile just to be the best? It's like they don't sleep day and night, they train every single day, they miss their family outing and all that, just so that it's at their peak. And the reason why they do that is because their performance is very transparent. You are good means you are good, right? Now you look at the corporate environment. Look at corporate environment. If you know your boss will screw up, are you willing to go there and say, boss, I think you will screw up? Right? I think as humans, we don't like to deliver bad news because in the workplace, it's a very high-stake environment where people are so afraid that I may lose my job, I may spoil the relationship that ultimately affect me. So from a gamified point of view, what we do is, there's a lot of feedback. No matter you're good, you're bad, you still do it. And I have a story to share with all of you. And this story is my favorite story of all time. Now there was this boss that nobody likes, but she lives in this illusion that people still like her because of her position. And as they play the game, right, with his staff and all that, suddenly we throw in something unpredictable. Remember mastery versus fluency? We throw in something so that to let her adapt. We say that, okay, everybody, boardroom challenge 1. Boardroom challenge 1 says that pick your weakest team member and fire. And guess who they fire? They fire the boss. So the boss went to the room, looked at the wall, and reflect. Okay, so they play the game again, and then we say that, okay, boardroom challenge 2. Bring back the person and sell the person to the next team. Okay? No, because we want to train people to objectively assess people, not on emotional ground. So boardroom challenge 2 actually tests those people in terms of assessment. But the boss, no one wants her. So we had to step in and say, no, this is just a game. So after that, but then the funny thing happened, the boss came to us and said that, I've been working in this company for 20 over years, but I've never experienced this before. And I mean, she's sad and all that, and she said that, but she had learned the best lesson of her life because she finally knows the truth of her leadership capabilities. And the only way to do that is to give the people the safe space to express their feedback. Okay, let me just quickly share with you some of the potential application of a gamified environment. First is, you can use it as an experiential assessment center. You can put them, let them play, let them express themselves, and then you get a list of observers to observe them based on a certain set of competency. Now the beauty of a well-designed gamified environment is this. We know what trigger to put in to observe what behavior. Let's say the ability to accept change. So we will throw in something and we observe. So it's very fun. We throw in, we observe, we throw in, we observe. So for recruitment, you can use this as well. Put 30 people in and then observe who fits where, so you will save costs for your company. The next thing is core value alignment. Now core value is something that in terms of engagement, core values is the best way to engage your people. But we spend so much to pay consultant to come up with a nice plug with a definition and we paste on the wall. And every morning we just walk past. Oh, core value. How do we actionize it? Now, respect to me may not be the same as respect to you or to you. But if you put them in a gamified environment, they're able to put meaning into the values. And then they get to observe other people in terms of how is their definition and how is my definition, and then we can align. Lastly, this is something I'm very excited about. It's called the High Performance Center. This is something that we have currently been working on, our current development. Now imagine it's a workplace. So there's politics, there's goals, there's KPIs, the KDIs, and all that. And the role of learning and development, or some of you HR, is to realize potential value. Now, I'm saying potential value, not realized value. Potential value. In order to be realized, they need to be applied in an actual workplace environment. But here's a question you should ask yourself. Number one, how willing are your people to apply it if it's a high-stake environment? Number two, how often they get to do it? You don't do it that often, you don't negotiate every hour. So what we propose is, we came up with this high-performance center that mirrors the actual working environment, where people can go in and practice 10 times, 20 times, 30 times, 40 times, and then come up with their own lesson before moving to the actual environment. So it's like a turbocharger. I actually came up with the walkthrough video of the actual, how do you design a gamified environment. So feel free to drop me an email and then I'll share this with you. Right, so I know that table is waiting for the trick. Faster, faster, I want to learn. Okay, here's the trick, okay? I only have about less than a minute, so here's the trick. All you need to do is do this, and do this, and turn back. That's it. So a lot of people will do this, but I do this. Got it? I will explain later, but I just want to give this quick point. I'll explain later so that you don't hurt yourself. I just want to give this quick point because as much as we want to engage people and all that, but what difference does it make if people feel engaged but they have nothing to take back? Which is why I want to teach you at the end. Because at the end of the day, what is more important for all of us is, it's really about the learning, not the game. It's really about the learning. It's really about what you can take away from the games, not how fun you are, how happy you are. At the end, it must have business impact. And if you believe that gamification is something that can change how you develop your people, then I welcome you to join me in this wonderful world of gamification, and let's change how learning and development is done in the world. With this, thank you very much.